The field for the biggest Derby of the season at Los Alamitos is set for Sunday, November 10th, the Grade 1 Los Alamitos Super Derby. The field is led by top qualifier BP Cartel Policy, as he looks for his third graded Derby of the year. Plus champion filly Dark Nme. She's going after her fourth Grade 1 win. Plus the undefeated Stanley Cartel, the outstanding Boardwalk, and the Grade 1 winner Let's Leave. It's a field of super sophomores. The Los Alamitos Super Derby, Sunday, November 10th.
Welcome, everyone, to the Los Alamitos preview show for the weekend of Super Derby, the Los Alamitos Super Derby on Sunday. But we also have two really nice stakes races on Saturday night. I'd like to welcome to the show George Duarte, the Equibase trackman here at Los Alamitos. Of course, Michael Wrona, the track announcer here at Los Al, and Christopher Wade, the simulcast host during our broadcast that goes nationwide with all the great racing action from Los Alamitos. How is everybody doing? We'll go ahead and start with you, George. How's everything?
I'm just counting down to Sunday, honestly. I'm excited. This is a really good race. It's it can set up, possible second choice in the Champion of Champions. It's I just can't wait for this race. It's loaded. I think 4 horses can win it, so I'm just waiting for Sunday.
And Michael, 3 stakes races this weekend for you to call. You got to be looking forward to that, right?
Oh, exactly. The late double on Saturday is terrific for horses, 3-year-olds who, a lot of them, contested those trials to the Super Derby, didn't qualify for the final. There's a couple of other form lines, of course, but we do see some horses coming back in a kind of a consolation format, I suppose, and they're very good races in their own right.
Yeah, full field of fillies in the Justanold Love, and some really, really nice males in the running of the Town Policy handicap. Town Policy, of course, one of the most famous horses to ever race here at Los Alamitos, trained by the great Blaine Schwaneveld. Christopher Wade, how are you?
I'm doing good, boss. How you guys doing today?
We're here getting ready to talk about, there it is, the Los Alamitos Super Derby, 10 races on top, and love to hear your thoughts about this Grade 1 event, 400 yards, and the winner would earn a presumptive invitation to the Champion of Champions. We already know some of the big names that will be in action in the Champion of Champions: Impressum, London Toby, Jericho, Patty Saint. They all won Grade 1 races here at Los Alamitos. We'll see who is added to that list of Champion of Champions contenders. Let's take a look quickly at this field. And if you have any thoughts as I go through this field, please stop me and let us know what you're thinking. Let's start with Sonny Corona, the only horse in this race that also competed in the All-American Derby. Sonny Corona Cartel out of Judge Sassney. 30-1 from the rail. And this horse has had some nice performances here at Los Al in the past. Try Harder, one of 4 horses bred by Dr. Ed Allred in this field. Also at 30-1, Jose Flores, Cruz Mendez, the owner, Betsavi Murillo. This horse is coming out of the most competitive trial to the Super Derby, in which BP Cartel Policy, Dark Nme, and AB6 Corazones all qualify from that trial. Let's Leave, the winner of the Ruidoso Futurity last year, at 15-1. Sergio Becerra comes in to ride. Boardwalk, 15-1 on the morning line. This will be his 4th appearance in a Derby final this year. Boardwalk, we'll hear a little bit about this horse from Scott Willoughby later on this segment. BP Cartel Policy, 6-5 on the morning line, looking for his 3rd graded Derby victory at Los Alamitos this year. Stanley Cartel, how about his record? 5-5 already this season, 3-3 as a 3-year-old, 2-1 on the morning line. Stanley with Tona Stanley and Dunn Ranch, the owners of Stanley Cartel. Stuck and I, stable made of the outstanding Boardwalk, 30-1 on the morning line, another one of those bred horses. Dark Nme, the AQHA champion filly last year, 9-2. She had her first career outing here at Los Alamitos in the trials, ran 3rd against BP Cartel Policy. Number 9, AB6 Corazones, ran 2nd in that same trial and actually ended up with the 3rd fastest qualifying time, 8-1. AB6 Corazones drawing that outside post. And number 10, Ari's Shere Khan, a colt by Tarzanito, a champion stallion on his own right when he competed here at Los Al. Tarzanito, the sire of R.S. Shere Khan, 30-1. Henry Reynoso Lopez and Adan Farias combining with on this horse, R.S. Shere Khan. Let's start with you, George. Your thoughts on this field?
I think it runs through Monty. He has the two short price favorites in BP Cartel Policy and Stanley Cartel. I'm sure he didn't like the draw of these. It's never good to have them right next to each other. And then another thing I was talking to Chris before the show was that James Flores flies in to ride Stanley, but that's one of my concerns is that horse likes to lug in and break in, so he could possibly bother his stablemate. If that were to be the case. And so that's what makes it it makes the race more interesting. If they were, away from each other, then it's just basically a 2-horse race. You just use those two and don't worry about it. But the fact that they're next to each other and could bump with each other could open the door for other horses like, the champion filly, Dark Nme. If you see her in the gate prior to the last start, she was like looking around. She maybe wasn't completely focused and still ran a good effort. So she could improve, draws better, gets off that 2-hole. And another one that ran huge was another Monty in AB Seis Corazones. He got outbroke by BP, lost his path, and then I stopped watching him. I started just looking at Dark Nme and BP Seis or what was his name, BP Cartel Policy. And then also I just see a horse fly by, and I was like, who's that? And that was just AB Seis Corazon, just finished really strong. And he draws well. He draws the outside. He should get a clean trip. So if they make a mistake in between, those two are the ones I think will take advantage.
Chris, what do your numbers say about this field?
Well, all numbers go through BP Cartel Policy number-wise. But the scary part is stablemate Stanley Cartel's unbeaten and actually untested. On the charts, the numbers, everything factored in, he figures maybe like 8 or 9 behind, like about half a length to 3/4. But guess what? The scary part is this horse has never been pushed on. He was striding out under a hold, never asked to run. His number's right there. And like George said, the bad part is drawn right next to each other. And Stanley Cartel likes to break and ski and drift in. That's the only concern. But number-wise, they're right on top of each other. BP Cartel Policy, slightly best, everything factored in, but Stanley Cartel never been asked to run. It's a guessing game. It could go either way. It all comes down to the getaway. If they both break clean, it could be a dead heat. These are two very, very talented horses. Stanley Cartel never been asked to run a step. It's so talented. It's just can't wait for that race.
Michael, you get to call the action of this race, and you're an excellent handicapper as well. I know that you've taken a really close look at this field. What are your thoughts?
Well, of course, Jericho won the race last year and went into the Champion of Champions and was a terrific 4th and is the favourite in all likelihood for this year's Champion of Champions. So this Super Derby, not only is it a fantastic race in its own right Sunday night, but as George alluded to, it could provide one of the top wagering choices come the Champion of Champions. It's the pathway for a 3-year-old to get into the Champion of Champions. Chris makes a good point about Stanley Cartel being untested. The winning margins are so clear-cut in his favour. Apart from the fact that he's 5 for 5, the margins are such that he just potentially hasn't been asked for everything, and we don't know if he can find a little bit more and run that little bit quicker. But from a wagering standpoint, Orlando, put me on number 9, AB Seis Corazones. I like the 8-1 from post position 9. He came out here to Los Alamitos last fall, clearly, decisively won a trial to the 2 million futurity, but not in fast enough time to make the final. Came back in September of this year and won an allowance, and then was second behind BP Cartel Policy in his Super Derby trial. So he's 2 for 3 at Los Alamitos with some excuses for the defeat last time out. Not that I'm suggesting for a moment that he would have or should have troubled BP Cartel Policy, who's absolutely brilliant and extremely tough to beat. I know I'm stating the obvious, but I just want to reiterate that my respect for the 5 and 6 is right off the charts. But again, just from a wagering standpoint, this horse is drawn to be involved in the finish. The price is right, and his finishing effort last time out shows me that he's going very well, and he's the price play for Dun Ranch and Monte Rosa.
I went as my top selection with the number 6 horse, Stanley Cartel. I had an opportunity to talk on the phone with Fred Stanley, son of the legendary breeder Wrona Stanley, and great conversation with him. I'll actually have a feature story on the Stanley family, Stanley Cartel, via my conversation with Mr. Stanley. And one of the things that he pointed out is when the horse went from post number 8, he counted about 6 seconds that the horse was in there before they opened the gate and the horse took off. And in his other starts, when he broke his last 2 starts as a 3-year-old, when he started from post number 1, he said he had about 40 to 50 seconds where he was in the gate, kind of relaxed in there. So he thought that now being back to post number 6, where he's going to be one of the first ones to load again, that actually might help him break a little sharper. One thing about this horse is look at the way that he breaks. Just every single time he's right there with the leaders. A little bit different than BP Cartel Policy. We see BP Cartel Policy sometimes the fastest out of the gate, sometimes the last out of the gate. Like when he ran in the Golden State Derby trials, he was 7th out of 8 horses out of the break. So if Stanley Cartel does break as quick as he has, maybe he does go inside. But BP Cartel Policy also has a tendency to go inside. Maybe he's clear at the beginning of the race. So we'll see how that goes. And my other observation, and George, you were there as well for the night of the trials. R.S. Shere Khan, do you remember the connections of that horse? They stuck around until that very last race. They were all kind of hanging around in front of the finish line, waiting to see if R.S. Shere Khan had made the field. And when they showed the list of qualifiers and R.S. Shere Khan was still in there, how excited were they? You could hear that whole group of people, Shane Giles and his friends and family. They just went wild, cheering on the fact that they had made a Grade 1 race with a horse that began the year as a maiden, had only raced 3 times last year, and now there he is with the best of the best in the Grade 1 Super Derby.
I happened to be leaning on the bar at Burgart's after the last race. There's a long shot coming in when the team with R.S. Shere Khan tumbled down the stairs, and there they were just absolutely ecstatic. They were so buzzed, and I'm thrilled for them that this horse has scraped into the final. He's done a great job this campaign after such an extended layoff, and he's really honest and consistent, and I'm happy to see him in the field. One other thing, just going back quickly to Stanley Cartel, does anybody have any concern about how sporadically raced the horse has been? He comes back a few weeks after the trial, whereas up until now his races have been more spaced. There was a full month between his first and second start, but other than that, there's long gaps, and I just wonder if that worries anybody.
Well, it could be a concern. Every one of his races are, very well spaced out. It's coming back relatively quickly. The only thing is that, he wasn't even asked to run. So he's got so much talent. And if he gets away clean as expected, he's got a big look at the outcome. He's just so talented. He's scary talented. What else can you say about that runner?
It might be because, he's a colt, and I think they probably want him for breeding. So I'm sure he had some issue after that futurity trial on, last year in May. And they said, you know what, let's just take our time. Let's make sure, that he's ready for a 3-year-old campaign. And I think they just been targeting the Super Derby and Champion. So they just had that in mind from the get-go, and that's the plan. I mean, there wasn't really anything in the summer that he could have ran in, I think. I mean, maybe an allowance. So they just figured, why even run him? So I think I'm not really worried about it. I think because he's a colt. If he was a gelding, I think it'd be more of a concern because it's like, why are you saving him? He's a gelding, but he's a colt. His brother is a somewhat successful sire in PYC Fun and Fancy. So I think that's their aspiration. So that's why I'm not worried about it.
And the winner of this race really, really gets a bump going into the Champion of Champions. Remember Bomb Cyclone? He won the Super Derby, and going into the Champion of Champions, he was one of the top contenders as well. Similar to Jericho, the way Jericho won the Super Derby last year. And what a great finish he had in the Champion of Champions to go from like maybe 7th or 8th to ending up finishing 4th in that race. Any other horses outside of the ones that we've talked about the most in this one that might, maybe hit that top 3? Chris, any other horses other than AB 6 Corazones, BP Cartel Policy, or Stanley Cartel that you see?
No, just top 4 numbers like Dark Nme, AB 6 Corazones, and of course like the top 2 BP Cartel Policy and Stanley Cartel and Shere Khan. Like you said, they were very, very happy to get in and be on the outside post. Got to grab a little bit of a look to grab a slice of pie at a price to spice up the Underneath Exotics. But as far as the top numbers are concerned, it all goes through to the 5 and the 6 and the 9 with expected improvement with a better getaway from the outside post.
George?
Yeah, I was going to say RS Shere Khan just because of the post draw. And, I like seeing I heard them. They act like they won the race. You would have thought if you just heard the crowd, you're like, oh, yeah, they must have won. And it just shows like how special it is to qualify these races. It's hard to get into these races like a Super Derby. When you got them as a baby, you're like, that's just your dream. It's like, oh, I would just love to be in the gate at, you have a chance. And then they drew well. I mean, they got a 10 post. They're basically almost guaranteed a clean trip. And then, they get to see where he stacks up.
Zendaya, the mother of RS Shere Khan, a stakes winner here at Los Alamitos, in Foos. Well, I got to think maybe Foos won the Super Derby as a 3-year-old as well. That's the sire of the dam of RS Shere Khan. So Foos in Tarzanito, horse that was well known for the way that he would finish at 400, 440. I do have a couple of interviews that I like to play pretty quickly. One with Monte Rosa right after BP Cartel Policy faced Dark Nme in that trial last week. And then right after that, I'll go ahead and play Scott Willoughby talking about Boardwalk. So let's go ahead and hear Monte Rosa first.
Yeah, it was a little tough start. AB 6 Corazones didn't get away. His horse lugged in a little bit, but once he lined out, he ran really good race, ran real strong, and a lot of pressure. Everybody was wondering what we'd do against Dark Nme. He's a great filly, and so happy way our horse run tonight.
The energy in the saddling paddock, so many people just wanting to take a peek,
not
only at Dark Nme, but as your horse as well.
I was the same. I was wanting to take a peek at Dark Nme as well. She's just a brilliant filly, and it's fun to run against her. So, it's what's good for quarter horse racing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this horse has just improved quite a bit the last 6 months, 8 months. He qualified for the Governor's Cup and just gotten better. He was a really nice 2-year-old, but he's really coming into himself. We set him up for this race really well, and he's doing really well. And of course, my jockey's doing a fantastic job. So,
4th final for a Derby this year for him. What a performance is that this year?
He tries hard every trip, and if he gets a good race, he just does really well.
That was Scott Willoughby talking about Boardwalk. He'll be saddling 2 horses in this Los Alamitos Super Derby. So it's going to be a heck of a race. That will happen on Sunday. First post, 5 p.m. Post time for the Los Alamitos Super Derby, it will be at 8:44 p.m. Before we go to break, George, you have a selection for Sunday here at Los Alamitos. How about we talk about your horse to watch, your selection for Sunday night?
It's race 6, so it's the start of the late pick 4. So if you're looking to want to spread in that Super Derby, maybe you can go a little thinner in this race with my pick and whoever else you happen to like in this race.
Okay, so here's race. This was a race number 7 back from October 19th, and your selection goes in race 6. Tell me about it.
Yeah, it's he's the number 4 in this race. It's Give Me a Reason. And I liked his workouts, even though they weren't fast. They were both 12.7, but I liked the way he moved, and I thought he was one that could progress. And I picked him last time when he went off at 17-1. I thought, I was like, oh man, I cannot, like, maybe I was seeing the wrong PPs that I created, because I can't believe this horse is 17-1. And then he ends up running really well.
All right, let's see the race. Number 4, right?
Yes. So he breaks in to bump the rival here, and then gets bumped on the hind end and a little bit shortly after. And then what I really liked is the 5 horse to the outside will lug in, and he just still tries to bull his way through in this tight hole and still gets there, finishes well and just barely misses second. So I just liked how he, and then he gallops out okay. So that's just, if he can clean up that start, I like how he can finish. And if he's crowded, he still can finish. A lot of horses will back out, will not want to run through that hole, and he had no problems. He wanted to go through that hole. If that race was 350, he might have been able to pull it off.
Yeah, I've always liked Erasmo Gasca. I think he's a really good rider. He gets the most out of his horses, and definitely did a really fine job here just keeping this horse involved in the race, and ended up getting, like Chris Wade likes to say, a little piece of the pie here in this race. So we'll see what happens. Race number 6 on Sunday night. We're going to take a quick little break, and we'll be back with a lot more selections. Michael Wrona has a nice pick, and of course, Chris Wade as well. We'll be right back.
The field for the biggest Derby of the season at Los Alamitos is set for Sunday, November 10th, the Grade 1 Los Alamitos Super Derby. The field is led by top qualifier BP Cartel Policy, as he looks for his 3rd graded Derby of the year. Plus champion filly Dark Nme. She's going after her 4th Grade 1 win. Plus the undefeated Stanley Cartel, the outstanding Boardwalk, and the Grade 1 winner Let's Leave. It's a field of super sophomores. The Los Alamitos Super Derby, Sunday, November 10th.
And we're back here with more Los Alamitos preview show. And now we take a look at one more horse to watch on Sunday. Michael, you have a selection here on Sunday night. Tell me a little bit about your pick for the Sunday program.
Her name is Mean Sharon. She's number 3 in race 3, which is a 1,000-yard claiming race for fillies and mares 3 and up. And she caught my eye in her first start at Los Alamitos in one of those straightaway 2.5 furlong races when she really did some nice work late. And now she stretches out to the 1,000 yards for trainer Gennaro Vallejo.
Okay, here it is. Michael, race number 6. Mean Sharon with a nice streak of performances here, breaking from post number 7, right?
Yes, to the left of screen, the outside post position. Up in the shadows there at the very top of the stretch. And she had a clean trip. There's no trouble notes. She began well, but then a couple of horses got away from her after the first 100 yards or so, and she was outpaced at this 2.5 furlong distance. You can see how far she's dropped off the 2 dueling leaders. But in the last little bit, watch her come again. She stretches for the wire, making up considerable ground in the last little bit of the race, to be beaten only about 3/4 of a length, and she's right up there with them on the gallop out on the outside. So I've got to think the step up to 1,000 yards is going to suit her mightily. Admittedly, she has to get around the tight turn, and that's an unknown. But just from a distance standpoint, she looks like she's got a good chance to me. I think 7-2 on the morning line is decent enough odds to try Mean Sharon. There's certainly a favourite to be feared with Sugar taking a steep class drop. Maybe it'll be a confidence-boosting win for Sugar, who's had a couple of tough trips lately. She does have the rail to deal with. She's the 7-5 favourite on Ed's morning line. But certainly from a class standpoint, Sugar's got to be very tough to beat. But again, she does have the rail. And I think Mean Sharon represents decent value at 7-2. There's an interesting parallel between her and a horse in the following race, Fed Grant, in the 4th race, number 2, who won last time out at Los Alamitos. First start for Gennaro Vallejo. after a couple of races at Fresno, just like Mean Sharon, for the same trainer, Jose Puentas, and had a couple of starts before that at Emerald Downs for the same trainer, Sergio Garcia. So just find that an interesting parallel. Vallejo was able to win with Fed Grant last time out, and maybe he can win with Mean Sharon second time out, but first time round the turn.
So a nice little pipeline there from Emerald Downs to Fresno to now here Los Alamitos, ending up here with Genaro Vallejo. Jose Elias Rodriguez aboard Fed Grant at 6-1. Nice little price there for Fed Grant. And just taking one more look here at Mean Sharon and her and the PPs on this runner. 7-2. And again, those connections, Jose Elias Rodriguez and Genaro Vallejo. Runners perform here on Sunday night. Let's go ahead and move to the Saturday action. And Chris Wade, you have a horse to watch on Saturday night. Of course, this program gets underway at 6 p.m. and we'll be talking about 2 stakes races on the card. But first, let's hear your selection here on the Saturday program.
Yeah, it goes on the opening leg of the late pick 4, and to field of 6, I'm going to go with the 6-horse Magic Folly to the outside. This horse came off exactly a 100-night layoff coming in from Sam Houston Race Park and went into Don Ferris Shedro and broke from the rail. And that particular event, the horse broke a little fractious to gate, broke a little slow on inward, lost a little bit of ground, but put forth a big run midway on own and crushed with a very impressive performance, galloped out very strong, earned a very good figure on my charts. That's very competitive in this allowance event. And coming back off a win, the connections are hitting at almost 30%. So the connections are very good. Goes from the inside post to the outside post. Quality figure. Definitely will move forward here. Second time over the oval and has a big look here as our top choice there. Kicking off the late pick 4 with Magic Folly for Don Ferris.
Okay, let me go ahead and bring up that race, and we can kind of take a look at the visual pictures here of Magic Folly. There it is, race number 5, October the 20th, and it's a 6-horse field here. And Magic Folly, Chris, is going to start from along the rail. So I'll go ahead and hit play, and you can walk through us the type of trip that Magic Folly had.
Yeah, she kind of bobbled away from the gate, inward away from the barrier, but still showed some solid speed despite that decent start, but put forth a big midway under a hand shove. A Baby Love tap midway, and we're starting out very strongly with run left to give and galloped out nicely. So definitely ran a very good well, came home at 983. Look at that gallop out into the turn. Very impressive performance, was well meant at 6-5, and will definitely move forward here. Second time over the oval, as many of these shippers do. So goes from that inside post to the outside post. Quality connections, almost at 30% with return winners. So I'll give the horse the edge there, kicking off that late pick 4 with Magic Folly.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident going into this race because the horse is facing some nice runners, just being famous. Competing in a stakes race. In Lightning Jet 1, also from the same trainer, Ricardo Guillen, has been in action against some allowance horses, not to mention the Eddie Willis trainee, our favorite, A Political Walk, coming off of Derby trial. And Magic Folly going from a maiden victory, taking on some really, really nice allowance horses. So look forward to that event there with a nice horse by the name of Magic Folly. Thank you for that, Chris. Let's take a quick look now at the 2 stakes races on tap on Saturday night. There's Magic Folly once again, but we'll go ahead and take a look first at race number 8, the Town Policy Stakes. In a very good group here, ready for it. Of course, that ran second in the Los Alamitos Winter Derby earlier this season. The 1-horse, Remember John, has competed in several stakes races at Los Al. Cheater is one of my top selections in this race. 6th in the Golden State Derby, won the Gents List. Speaking Famous, of course, that similar to Boardwalk, he's competing in a bunch of derbies this year. Think Again, Kev ran in the 2 million futurity and the Golden State Million futurity last year, and you're getting 8-1 on Think Again, Kev. Beduino's favorite, Relentless Coronado, now under the training of Heath Taylor. And Relentless ran second in the Golden State Million futurity last year, and MFS Cheerio, look at that, his past performances, just filled with stakes races, 5-1 on the morning line for MFS Cheerio. Chris, you have a selection here in this race. Anyone that you like?
Yeah, I'm gonna give a look to Unrelentless. This horse has got some quality efforts over Los Alamitos Oval. Qualified some big races last year. Was second in the Golden State Million. And this horse did run at Albuquerque with a good amount of trouble. This horse broke very slow, was crossed, but had a good amount of run far back. It was a much better looked effort. Was starting out very strongly, and with everything factored in, earned a very good figure on my chart. Draws well. And had to take a look at the outcome as my top choice in the town policy. And, of course, Cheater down on the inside, post number 3. I had to go look at the outcome as well. So it's very, very quick, draws well, and has a look as my second choice. But Unrelentless would be my top look in the town policy.
Michael, any horse that pops out of the page on this race?
I agree with Chris that Unrelentless number 8 is the horse to beat. But, gee, it's a deep, very interesting race. I could go any number of ways. I'm a big fan of Cheetah, and it's pretty good odds, I think, for Ready For It, number 2, based on his resume. His efforts from the first half of the year would make 6-1 fairly attractive. But for the sake of just making a pick and talking about a horse a little different, the 9 horse is very interesting to me. MFS Cheerio came into the Sergeant Pepper Feature Stakes without a local workout and finished third behind Stanley Cartel and Kiss My Wine. Stanley Cartel needs no introduction. We've been talking about him re the Super Derby. But Kiss My Wine came out to win next time out also. So it's a very strong form line out of that race. I grant you that the horse was comfortably beaten by 2 lengths at the finish, but was only a neck behind the runner-up, and has the potential to move forward with that experience, going to the outside post position, and now has a turn and work, not a gate work, but a turn and work showing up there for MFS Cheerio. And so he is a horse I would definitely be including from the outside post position.
And this horse will travel as well. You can see right there on the past performances, has run at Ruidoso, at Will Rogers Downs, Remington Park, and of course out at Los Al, like you mentioned, Michael, a really nice effort running third in that Sergeant Pepper feature. 5-1 on the morning line for MFS Cheerio. And let's move on to the 9th race on the card. This is the Justanold Love Handicap. Top fillies in action. Several of these horses competed in the Grade 1 Los Alamitos Oaks earlier this year. Silverback and Check-in Cartel are 2 of them. Tres Lunas. This was actually Tres Lunas' first ever outing in a stakes event. Trending Right has competed in several stakes races here at Los Al and coming off of a nice allowance win. Market Analyst, a Los Al Oaks graduate. Emmy Ergo Relent, a filly who ran against older males and finished second in the Blaine Schwanevelt. Also ran second in the Wild West Futurity last year, and she's been very busy this year. 13 starts this season alone. In the mode, ran second in the La Pacifica against a big long shot, Ecstatic. Also competed in the Los Alamitos Oaks. Famous Cartel Jesse ran in the Golden State Million Futurity last year. There's Butter Homes and Garden, Butter, as they like to call him in the barn, an allowance winner here at Los Al, and Rocking with Energy we know about Rocking with Energy, a stakes winner here at Los Al, ran second in the Edberg Million last year. I'll start with you, Michael. Any filly that you like best in this field?
I don't have a strong feeling about this race at all. Check-in Cartel has proven a very costly conveyance this season. No doubting her quality and class. Her effort late last year was fantastic to get into the Los Al 2 million futurity and finish 4th. But she's just been nibbling away at short odds without delivering And so I've got to work around her somehow, just on that basis, even though it wouldn't surprise me if she won. But I don't really know where to jump. I wish I had a strong conviction, but I just don't know. I suppose Rockin' with Energy coming down the outside can be very hard to hold out. Impressive winner of that debutante stakes on the Calbred Champions weekend in the middle of the year. But I really don't have a strong idea about where else to jump.
Yeah, she's still looking for her first win of the year. I guess the one time that we figure, hey, maybe she gets it done in that one would have been in the La Pacifica Handicap, a race that was won by a long shot, and in the mode was there as well. Because in that Oaks, as it turns out, Asher's been a superstar, and Southern Divine has also delivered several nice races, double down 1, 2, 3, the kindergarten futurity winner as well. Chris, any thoughts on this race?
Well, I'm going to give a slight edge. It's a closely matched affair. You got some talented runners in this affair, but they just don't know. But I'm going to give a slight look to the outside runner. Rock with Energy lost all chance in her last ever broke slow, was bumped back cross, took up the prior effort. When she drew the rail, she was very impressive, winning from that inside post. So drawn well. She's a trouble prone deluxe, likes to find her own trouble, but drawn in the inside or the outside, a much better chance for a clean getaway. That being said, if she gets away clean like she did from the rail a couple of events back, she's got a big look at the outcome, drawn nicely to the outside as the slight selection there in the Justanold, the Rockin' with Energy to the outside.
Yeah, in that last race, the Sound Dash Handicap, I'm trying to remember, she may have been one of the only, maybe the only filly in that race. She was going against Fearless Moon, who was the champion 3-year-old filly last year. And we just saw Just Call Me Candy, and she gutted out an allowance win recently here at Los Alamitos. So a nice field in the Justanold Love, 10 top fillies in the filly and mare division here at Los Al, the best in the country. Well, that's going to wrap it up for the Los Alamitos preview show. Plenty of great racing action this weekend. The Super Derby, the Town Policy, the Justanold Love. Of course, our early and late pick fours, always fun here at Los Al. Any party words, Chris?
I'll get some great racing this week. I just can't wait to see the Super Derby. It is a Super Derby. You got some talented runners in that affair. It could go any number of ways. But that 5 and 6, you got BP Cartel Policy, and of course the monster Stanley Cartel. 5 for 5, yet to be asked any run. He's got so much talent. It's going to be a great wait. I can't wait for that particular affair.
And Michael, when you got a horse that's 5 for 5 and going into a Grade 1 race, a lot of expectations. Just the excitement to see if this horse can take it to that next level. Any final words, Michael?
Yeah, there's something extra about an undefeated horse. It just brings that X factor. We don't know the ceiling for Stanley Cartel. Can he match it with stablemate BP Cartel Policy? Next door neighbors in the starting gate, right in the middle 2 stalls in the 10-horse field. So that alone is just fascinating. And I'm strapped in, looking forward to the whole weekend.
Perfect. I am as well. I hope all the viewers are looking forward to the weekend as well. I'm sure they are. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this afternoon for taking a good look at all the great action here at Los Alamitos. Chris, Michael, viewers, have a rest of a great day here wherever you are. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The field for the biggest Derby of the season at Los Alamitos is set for Sunday, November 10th, the Grade 1 Los Alamitos Super Derby. The field is led by top qualifier BP Cartel Policy, as he looks for his 3rd graded Derby of the year. Plus champion filly Dark Nme. She's going after her 4th Grade 1 win. Plus the undefeated Stanley Cartel, the outstanding Boardwalk, and the Grade 1 winner Let's Leave. It's a field of super sophomores. The Los Alamitos Super Derby, Sunday, November 10th.